Behold, a cold open. Joe, you know me. Do I often go to bars? Do I go out to the bar to have a good time in the evening?
If you get tricked, yeah, I guess.
If I get tricked, and no, I never do. See, the thing is, I'm one of those guys. If I'm gonna have a drink, I'm gonna have like two maximum, which makes the bar an insane proposition because I can get a 6 pack of beer, and that lasts me a week. And
We
that costs
still
me.
have the 30 rack of PBR we bought for the day after the wedding for the open house. And you know what? I will be buried with it.
I drank one of those last time it was over out of courtesy. Uh, anyway, so yeah, I can spend $10 and have all the beer I want for an entire week, or I can spend $10 to get like a beer at the bar, and like to the point where Joe, there is a true Chicago anomaly literally across the street from me, a corner bar, an independent corner dive bar. Again,
Yes.
across the street from me. I've never been inside it because I'm just like, why would like this is simply not for me. I would never go there. I'll never go to the bar.
And there's also not a lot of the corner, like unit store. Like there's a bunch of buildings in residential Chicago that have what is clearly on the first floor meant to be for a store that is just empty.
Yeah, because there was a large push in the 20th century to make life more bad because of, I guess, spite or as a joke.
Yeah, so basically the only businesses that fit in those places today are like a cleaners or for whatever reason this bar.
Yeah, like the corner bar in Chicago is not something that is like held on. They're fucking gone. It's a miracle this one's around. But it sucks because I'm like, I'm not the person who this can be for. All of which is to say, I've like never, like I hear people online, I see people online talking about like male loneliness. How about you just go to the bar? You can get laid easy if you go to the bar. And I'm like, I've never gone to the bar. Thank God I'm married, because if I had to go to the bar, Jesus Christ, I hate going to the bar. I never go to the bar. It's just a part of life that is not for me. All of which is to say, a homie of ours, Kevin. What am I saying? I sometimes I forget who's like named on Sickos and who I have to euphemize. It's Kevin Johnson. He was like, hey, did you know that near us there's this like fancy ass cocktail bar that's like gourmet? And I'm like, shit, I love gourmet. Fuck. Like, I would never buy a beer from a bar because, again, you can get them from cheaper at the store. But, like, I ain't gourmet. I can't mix a drink. So that's got me interested. And he's like, and you know, also, they got non-alcoholic cocktails as well. Like a lot of them. Not just like the Shirley Temple for the idiot. They actually care. And this is big for me because if I'm going to go to the bar, I'm going to go with my wife. My wife doesn't drink. She drinks even less than me. Like, she maximum have, like, one sip of an alcoholic drink and be like, that's nice. I don't want any more. So, like, she would get nothing. So, going to the bar with her is a no-go because it is, I don't want to go. And she definitely doesn't want to go. So, we're not going. But this is like, okay, maybe this is something that we could both enjoy. And so, one day, it's a beautiful summer evening. It's a nice 1.5 mile walk to this bar. Lovely walk. Lovely weather. The sun's going down. It's not too hot. We decide, you know what? Let's go and get a gourmet cocktail from the bar. Let's do it. And as we're walking, I'm thinking to myself about, my history as a bar avoider. And, there were some posts going around about, like, can you believe what the Zoomers do in bars now? They're so fucking dumb. I don't even know what it was that they were doing.
It was not tipping, I think, which is, yeah, that's pretty bad.
Are you sure? That's a little too much. Are you sure it was that? I thought it was something a little more esoteric because, like, that's clearly fucked.
I saw one thread where, and look, people are just saying, yeah, I saw a Zoomer that was a Bigfoot. Like, they can just say whatever. It doesn't matter.
That's also true. That's something I want to talk about later. But
one thing I read was just like, oh yeah, I'm like, you were using cash, but they're like, yeah, I'm saving a lot of money. I'm ahead of schedule, or so to speak. And they're like, wow. And it turns out they weren't tipping. But again, this is just a fucking story on the internet. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And okay, well, that one's pretty dumb. But the point is, like, I'm just like, what if I do something fucked up? Like, I don't know. I don't have the bar. Like, Like, a lot of these fucking hip people, these cocaine Brooklynites, like, the idea that I'm not in the bar every night already makes me an alien. And I probably have, like, alien subculture fucking thoughts to them. I'm scary. So I'm like, what happens if I go to the bar and they yell at me for being bad at it? Like, what if I get yelled at?
That's a legitimate concern. Something that, like, you got to do your pre-work, and it's good that you did.
Yeah, this is just the sickos become dumb babies. This is what if they think I'm a dumb baby bitch and can't do bar correctly? So I vocalize this concern to my wife, and I do this both to think out loud, and also because I know from my life that this is a coping strategy to deal with anxiety. You vocalize it to another party, and they will then tell you that that's not a reasonable thing to be worried about, and it's actually okay. And then hearing that coming from another person, especially someone I deeply trust, such as my wife, will make me feel better about it. And it won't be sort of eating my brain up anymore, at least not as much. So I say, I think I'm going to get yelled at for being bad at the bar. She says, honey, why would that happen? That's ridiculous. That will never happen. Why would they do that? And I said, you know what? Yeah, it is ridiculous. Why would they do that? Now, some background here. So we're walking, and my wife doesn't want to be carrying something, like a big bag. And girl clothes don't have pockets. So she's like, you know what? I'm not going to take my wallet with me. You cover what we get. And I'm like, that's fine. But before we went, I'm like, bring your ID anyway. And she's like, why? We're not going to get carded. We don't look young. We're fucking 30. We look 30. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't know. I guess it was my, paranoia about like, what if they yell at us about being bad at the bar? Just like, bring your ID. Just in case. And this is also because like the first time I did a live comedy performance, it was at the Hideout, a bar. And my wife came to see me perform, and she had an ID. She was like of age at the time, but her ID was expired. And the bouncer was like, the guy at the door was like,
she got bounced.
Yeah, this expired ID, fucking leave, bitch. And she's like, what? The ID shows I'm over 21. And they're like, don't care. And so she couldn't see. Anyway, because of that.
Fake, though. When you print fake IDs that are past the expiration date for the scam.
Yeah, it's like super bad, like McLovin putting himself as 25 because everyone's going to put 21. No, again, all these fake IDs are unexpired. You'll never think that the expired one is real. Anyway, so I'm like, bring your ID, okay? Bring your ID. And she's like, okay, fine, but I don't want to bring my wallet still. So I'm like, okay, I'll just keep it in my wallet. So we're going. We get there, and it's pretty packed. Not like crazy packed. Like we're able to get 2 seats next to each other, like without having to wait. And there are other empty seats, but it is still, it's bustling. It is a busy night, and because this is a gourmet like cocktail bar, no one's ordering a beer. Everyone is ordering a cocktail that takes like a lot of time to make, and there's only 2 people working. So the fucking employees are going absolutely nutso. They are constantly making these complex drinks. They are moving like busy bees. They don't have a second to fucking slow down or do anything. They're really going. And so we look at the menu. I see a cocktail I want to get. It looks delicious. It's very fruity and it's got pineapple juice in it. For me, this is a slam dunk. I give the menu to my wife, and I'm like, maybe you want to get one of the non-alcoholic cocktails. She says, I don't know. Not really. You know what? Actually, here's what I'll do. I'll have a bunch of. I'll have like a third of yours, and in the food section, there's like a thing of olives that you can get, and I'll get that, and that'll be what I order. And I'm like, that sounds good. Olives are great. I mean, from being in Spain, any bar gives you olives for free, and it's like everyone should do that. So having olives makes everything better. And I'm like, this is not going to get us yelled at all. Now, Joe, you made some sound that indicates that you seem to know where this is going to go.
Yeah, generally speaking, restaurants love when people sit down at a table and say, "Nah, I'll just eat what you order." That is where the big dollars are. You love to hear that, especially as a server too, because you know the tip will be obviously proportionally smaller. Hell yeah!
I when my wife said she wasn't gonna get anything, I'm like, "Are you sure? Maybe you want to get one of the non-alcoholic cocktails?" And she's like, "No, I don't want anything." Now, I would like to think that what I was doing was intuiting what you just thought and suggesting, but, more than just suggesting that she get something. No, I was just trying to be polite and, maybe there's something you can enjoy. And when she's like, no, I'm like, okay, that's fine, too. I had no fucking clue what was coming. So this woman comes up to us finally, and again, she looks.
And you deserve all this, right?
She looks as though. Shut up. She looks as though she is a very avatar of stress itself, and she's like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll have this cocktail, and we'll get the olives."
And then my child bride, whose ID I keep in my own wallet.
You're blowing it all.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was.
So. She hits us with the fluoride stare. I swear to God, I've said the order, and she just looks at us like stone-faced, silent, unmoving for 5 seconds. And Joe, I've never been more scared in my life. It's my worst fear come true. I'm getting yelled at the bar. And if you are a person who's afraid of getting yelled at, you know that someone staring at you silently with a hard look is exactly the same as someone raising their voice and yelling.
Getting yelled at is so funny. It's both the fakest thing, but it's also the scariest thing.
Yeah. So she is, and I'm so fucking scared. I'm just like, and I just repeat the order again in case she didn't hear it. And she just looks at my wife and is like, "What's she having?" Oh, no. And she, in a terror, is like, "I'm just gonna share some of his drink and have the olives." And she goes, "Share? Let's see your IDs." And as Joe has suggested, I am then forced to take out my wallet, and
your
from
human trafficking cachet.
I pull 2 people's IDs from one wallet. I hand them over, and Joe, as I said, neither me nor my wife look underage. We are both in our 30s and look like that. She looks at my ID for a while, darts her eyes up at me, and looks at me hard with a hard look. Again, I have fucking Mr. Fantastic hair. I am salt and pepper. I am clearly not underage. And she looks at my wife's ID, and then it's like the cartoon dog from The Simpsons with the shifty eyes. It's going back and forth. ID to wife, ID wife. Looking really angry. I'm gonna papers please this bitch and figure out the discrepancy, because there's gotta be one. Finally, she grumbles, and gives the IDs back and goes to silently get our drinks. We feel like the most unwelcome people in the world. When we get our one drink and olives, we fucking suck that shit down and inhale the olives as fast as possible, pay the bill immediately, give a 50% tip out of absolute terror, and run out as though pursued by villains. Joe, it was as bad as I could have possibly imagined. I got yelled at for being bad at bar.
And you look like a pervert a little bit.
I did.
There was the pervert element. That's no good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were in trouble when you said you used the word share. She correctly does not like the word share for a reason, because it's the evil word in the context of a restaurant.
This is supposed to be a progressive bar that's queer friendly, and yet
everybody buys their own drink.
As soon as I introduce a little bit of Marxist thought, they turn on me. There's a happy ending.
The worst guy here.
I want to reiterate, there were empty seats the entire time we were there. It's not like my wife was taking up one of the precious few money-making spots and being a leech. I mean, she was being a leech, but like anyone could have sat down.
Is that those empty tables were taken in more than your table?
There is a happy ending though. We went back like 2 weeks later and did it correctly, and a different bartender took our order and did not yell at us, and we were able to be there and relax and enjoy ourselves. But the fucking lady who gave us the fluoride stare showed up halfway through, and we both got scared like a guy came in with a gun.
And she doesn't remember any of this. That's what's so funny.
Oh no, dude. Of course she does. Of course she does.
No.
What you just said is exactly what my wife said, which is, it's silly. Why would they yell at us? They did yell at us, and she does remember.
Okay, I guess that's true.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anime Sickos. It's the podcast for geniuses and the only podcast where we take a look at the four pillars of modern misery, anime, gaming, posting, and shops. I am Tom, an anime sicko.
I am Joe, an anime sicko. No more art.
No more art. There's a Sickos Back to Basics. We really fucking... Wow-wee! Did we shoot ourselves in the foot, numbers-wise, by doing...
The ROI, dog shit is like... It's pretty good. Yeah, I'd say dog shit.
Yeah, I said dog shit. Numbers-wise is dog shit. If we had put out one episode that got the numbers of a given Sicko Shack 2 episode, we would say, holy shit, this one's dog shit. People hate this. We put out 6. And actually 7, because the making of is getting similar numbers as well, because you wouldn't listen to it unless you listened to the... Turns out, when you put out a 2-hour audio drama, it's a lot easier to get people to listen to that than a 6-hour one.
And we knew this. We're just like, but we're different, right? We're built different.
We're built different.
The human attention span doesn't apply to us as the way it does other objects.
It's simply too good.
Yeah.
Fuck. So we're going back to basics. And one of the ways we're going back to basics is reading patrons. Because we didn't do that for Sicko Shack. Because when would we have? First new patron, that's going to be Skelly. Thank you, Skelly.
Thank you, Skelly. Assuming this is a Skelly on Twitter, I can see the avatar in my mind's eye.
Yeah, no, I know. This is speaking of Sicko Shack too, Skelly did a fan art of Tor after they had their jack removed and they were punished Tor. And I thought, when it was first posted, I thought someone was just posting an art of a panel of Gabimaru from Hell's Paradise, because they got that fluffy white hair in this depiction, and I'm like, this Gabimaru. And then I took a closer look, and I'm like, fuck, that's Tor. So thank you, Skelly. Next up, Emery. Emery, thank you.
Thank you, Emery.
Next up, I'm just looking up the list. There's no one with a confusing name. Kate.
Or is it?
It's Kate. No, it's Kate. Kate, thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Next, this person gave us 5 of the fucking Euro monies. My God. Can you believe it?
Isn't that equal to American dollars now? And one of the results of that is Europe is plagued with idiot Americans just wandering the streets.
And Europe was always plagued with idiot Americans wandering the streets. I don't know shit about money, dude. What are you fucking asking me for? All I know is that we got 5 Euro bucks. 5 Europe credits from Ramon. Thank you, Ramon.
Thank you, Ramon.
Next up, we got 5 real dollars from good old from bad new USA. Greasy Pete. Thank you, Greasy Pete. You're very greasy.
Thank you, Greasy Pete.
This is the greasiest patron yet. And then our last patron is gonna be Quill. Thank you, Quill.
Thank you, Quill.
Hell yeah. You can patronize us at patreon.com/animesickos. We're still like $2,000 in debt with regard to Sicko Shock 2. Debt's the wrong word. We paid a lot of money, and Patreon has made that much money minus $2,000. So we need to earn
everyone's been
$2,000.
paid, to be clear. It's just that now there are like guys in suits circling my house.
Yeah, there's just $2,000 of it was out of pocket from us, and we would like to make that back and not have that be out of.
And one of the best ways to do that is to not go all in on a very expensive project in a fun medium.
Yeah, well, we're not making another one until some fucking significant time passes or ever. So whatever. Anywho, Joe, how you been? You got any Chicago updates? How's life for you in Little Shittily down in the hospital hell?
Down in the Italian medical district. Well, this is not like new, but this is me realizing how funny it is. There's a big fountain on Taylor Street, which is like the main like commerce street that runs through Little Italy and has restaurants and everything. And one of those things that was there was an Italian Sports Hero Hall of Fame.
Jesus Christ.
And yes. It's going to be apartments now. And it never occurred to me how funny it is that like they did not produce enough honor. Like they couldn't. Like in Warcraft 3, if you have too big of an army without the appropriate houses, you can't deal with the upkeep costs. They couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so funny. It's just so fucking funny. And the other thing,
it's Joe. I will never fall off the Zeppelin. It's like you open up this building and you, I guess, don't have like a patron. Like you don't have a wealthy person who is like bankrolling this. You're like, we're really hoping enough people buy tickets.
Yes,
this is a business.
I want to know how that thing is set up financially or was, because like at first glance, what you said is what I thought was the case. There's a rich person somewhere making this happen, and like no amount of success of the Italian Sports Hero Hall of Fame will matter because it's bankrolled by like the guy the great descendant of like the guy who invented shitting. So he's like so rich.
Yeah. He actually invented diarrhea, which is Italian shitting. Anyway. That's why I like espresso so much. See, I stepped on the one joke you like to say when I say the word coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So it's a I will never fall off the Zeppelin moment in like we'll open up this business where people will ooh and ah over the great honor of Italian athletes, and we will never cease creating athletes of this caliber.
In fact, we're going to have to put in another wing because there's going to be so many new ones.
Joe, I was
funny.
I was trying to do like every year you're going to see a new Italian famous athlete here, but I couldn't even think up one.
It would be very funny if they started clearly being stretches, just like, and this year it's Lady Gaga.
Her dancing is really athletic. Try to get a couch potato to do those moves. They'd be huffing and puffing. They couldn't sing at the same time. Come on. I bet she could figure skate if she really tried.
So
Jesus
that's
Christ.
definitely like it closing is not new. It took me staring at it and seeing the construction to be like, oh, that's like kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like the Italian American Museum of nothing bad happening to us. Oh shit.
Yeah. And then the other thing that is happening Chicago-wise near me is so the Blue Line tracks are gone. They're gone.
Normally with the CTA, people complain a lot about the CTA,
especially the Blue Line. The Blue Line specifically sucks ass. Which
usually
is great.
When they complain about that, though, the thing isn't that like the tracks are still there, despite the complaint.
Yeah, usually it's the tracks are there. There's no car. Well, now there's no fucking car or tracks. So those are, as far as I know, those are like the original Eisenhower tracks. Like those are they're old and they've not been replaced, which means the entire branch of the Blue Line west out to Oak Park is like running at reduced speed. So in theory, even if they just got tracks that allowed the cars to go at a 1999 speed, it would feel like an amazing improvement. So I'm really hoping that's how it is. I really do. Also, holy shit, the stations along 290 are just the ugliest fucking stations. Did you ever wanted to stand in the middle of a freeway?
Is it okay? So I've never been there. Is it worse than the Blue Line tracks going up to O'Hare that are in the middle of the fucking 9094?
It's
like
the same thing. Yeah, it's like the same. You're on like a concrete island that's slightly above killer streams of cars going both ways.
Yeah, that's a real black pilling thing, especially because the Blue Line now takes a jillion years for a train to show up. You're just like looking at all the cars, and you're like, each one of these has one person in it. This is all just one person. One person, one person, one person, one person. Oh my God. Like, no wonder the climate's happening.
Yeah. So they're going to reopen half of it. By half of it, I mean like one entrance to our stop sometime in October. In the meantime, I can use the Pink Line, which is fun. The Pink Line is a very short train. It's very cute. I like it. Frankly, I would prefer that over the Blue Line, but I can only assume Brandon Johnson is going to put in a bullet train.
I mean, I'm
just for that part.
Brandon's not impressing me with how long the CTA head is gone without being fired. What the hell, man?
The only thing I care about is like the CTA. I shouldn't say only thing, but it's like such a affecting quality of life issue for fucking everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the worst thing you can do in Chicago? Drive a car. How do you make people drive a car less? Make the CTA good. Do that.
Yeah. The head of the CTA is this guy named Dorval Carter, who, as far as I can tell, doesn't even show up to hearings and whatnot. This is a job I should have because I would always go to those hearings. I would be there early. I would have so many train facts.
Halfway through, you would bring your Steam Deck out and play fucking Soulstone Survivors, but that's okay. You paid attention for the first half.
But the enemies follow a path, which is not unlike that of a train. So...
actually, you know what? You should... Okay. You got to go up to Brandon. You say, hey, hello, President Brandon. Mayor Brandon. I can't believe his name is really Brandon. I'm like, all right, enough joking around. I'm going to call him his real name. Brandon. It is Brandon. It's like from It's a Wonderful Life when they're like, George, Mrs. Bailey's on the phone. It's like, I don't want Mrs. Bailey. I want my wife, Mrs. Bailey. It's that, but with Brandon. Anyway, why did I go on that fucking digression? Anyway, the point being, I'm going to go up to Brandon. You go up to Brandon, and you say, sir, I got to take Norfolk Carter's job. Here's my resume. And you show him how many hours you have on Monster Train. And you're like, the trains here don't even have monsters on them. So, like, it's going to be easy for me.
And most of these hours, I wasn't asleep. Some of these, I did leave it running, okay? But, like, the majority of this, I was actively engaged.
So that's our Chicago minute. Is there more?
No, that's pretty much it. Chicago, it's we're keeping on. It was hot, very hot, and now it's not. So wonderful.
I was out of town. I was taking the train back from O'Hare, and a tourist asked me on the Blue Line how they got to what stop they get off in Navy Pier, and I said, you get off at Grant, and you got to take a bus. And they looked like I just like insulted their mother. Like the fact that I told them they would have to take a bus was just like, ugh. It's like, wait, you're on a train now. It's the same. Anyway, the Sickos go back to basics. One way that we're going to do that is we're going to talk about fucking video games. Talking about specifically JRPGs. Talking about specifically the Chrono series. Because I finally played and beat the sequel to Chrono Trigger, the PlayStation 1 RPG game, Chrono Cross. Joe, you had opinions about Chrono Cross that you would bring up unprovoked anytime I even suggested that this game existed. What are they?
It's mostly that it doesn't fucking look like Dragon Ball. It is not a Toriyama experience, which is objectively true. My dislike for it was very much a teenage knee-jerk reaction to, like, oh, I sure do love Chrono Trigger. Oh wow, a sequel to my favorite game of all time, and it's like just different. And I'm like, I can't. I don't know, like the age of 13 or however old I was, I don't think I had a really good handle on like what artistic direction is. It's like, this is a different choice. It's like, no, it's not fucking Dragon Ball.
Okay. I didn't know until like halfway through, and I was getting, and I would tell Joe Chrono Cross stuff, and he would say things to me. Halfway through the game, I'm like, wait a minute. Did you not beat this game?
No.
I'm like, oh my god, I've been like respecting your opinions about this game. It's like, well, Joe, he's a smart man. He may have come to this game at a different place, so these opinions. And I'm like, oh no, your opinions are fucking dog shit. You don't have nothing to say about Chrono Cross. I will say though, as much as I just said that, everything you say about why ain't there Gohans is so goddamn true.
I was very much just expecting, like, I had this experience and it's already in this shape. I was expecting just that to be carried over to a 32-bit thing. And obviously, it was a little different than that.
I'm going to be doing a lot of, well, actually, it is really good. This is, like, the more I think on it, like, the more I agree with you on this point, which is just, like, don't hedge it and be like, well, this is an artistic choice. It's an artistic direction. They just decided to take it in a different one. Why would they do that? They already had the best artistic direction, which is Toriyama. Like, there's a reason. What if Dragon Quest XI just suddenly decided to look like fucking, like, everyone looked like Bleach? People would get mad because it's like, no, I wanted the Toriyama guy. Like, I think it's pretty fucking, like, telling that when everyone says, like, why Chrono Trigger is like, oh, it's the best game ever, everyone points to the trio of Yuji Horii, Dragon Quest guy, Sakaguchi, Final Fantasy guy, and Toriyama doing the art. And all three on one game? Wow! No wonder it's an all-time classic. And they replaced him with a fucking... the guy who did the character designs for Escaflowne. And say what you will about Escaflowne, I do not think that the character designs in that show are, like, especially striking. So why that? I don't know. And there are a few times when the Chrono Trigger characters show up on screen, rendered in 3D, and they look good, dude. It's not like they couldn't figure out how to do 3D Toriyamas. It looks good. And I'm just like, why is everyone else looking different? Fuck.
The other issue I had with it is this game, Chrono Cross, boasts like a bajillion guys. It's like there's so many fucking guys in this game. And I think I just like a small squad of people that you kind of like get attached to over the course of a JRPG. There's also a lot of a thing that you have to admit that you hate too, because you always bitch about it to me.
Yes.
Which is shit you miss and can't get back. Like just points of no return. You can't stand it.
Mm-hmm. This is true. And this is the case for the party members, because as Joe suggests, there's like 40 some party members that are recruitable, which I thought was going to be like real annoying, because there's one thing I fucking hate. It's one, having to switch party members out all the time to keep all of them like relatively leveled for the inevitable point that comes where you have to like make 3 parties with everybody, and it's like, oh fuck, the one guy I never used is now mandatory to use and he sucks at. So like I didn't want to do that. I also didn't want the FOMO that comes from when you have a jillion choices. It's like, well, one of these guys sucks ass. Like one of them's the worst. Am I using the worst guy? I don't know. So I was afraid of that. And there is permanently missable guys. Like there's a lot of like little clusters of guys where you can only get one, and if you get one, all the other ones are not recruitable. And there's one cluster where
that's the saddest story I've ever heard. That sucks,
dude. You're gonna get even sadder. There's these 3 guys, I think actually 4 guys, who you can only get one of, and I'm going to tell you who they all are. One is Glenn, a knight who is living in the shadow of the more skilled knight and best friend of his who died You may remember, that's fucking Frog.
The frog, that's Frog, yeah.
So this is not the exact same guy. It's like Link. It's like, Link.
There's always a Frog. There's always a Link.
So I'm like, I want Frog. I want Glenn. Give me Frog. Also,
was he water element?
No, Joe, but he's not a water element, which at first disappointed me when I looked it up, but then I realized why. He's green. His element's green. He's Frog.
Oh right. Okay, yeah.
So you can get Glenn. You can also get this guy named Guile, who is a badass warrior mage who, well, I didn't figure this out because it's not, I didn't recruit him. But Guile is Magus. Guile is Janus. He's Magus.
Oh.
But like in disguise. And so that's pretty badass. You could also get Nikki, who is the son of a pirate who you get later, who is a badass, super famous pop star / sword fighter who looks cool. Or you could get Pierre, the joke character, the Dan Hibiki of Chrono Cross, who has comically low stats and only is good if you get the heroes set of equipment, which are these dinky little baubles that suck ass, and you could never put them on anyone else. But if he has the entire hero set equipped, he becomes good. Just kidding. He still sucks. He's still worse than everyone else with the hero set. Anyway, I didn't know that he was part of this cluster, so I just came up upon him, and he was like, hello. And he was the first of the 4 I met. And I'm like, hello, do you want to join? And he's like, okay. And the coolest guys locked out forever.
That's so sweet. I'm Pierre, the clown who sucks. Your favorite characters from your video game that you like more than this one are behind me. Can I hang out?
No, it doesn't really make sense why my joining would affect them at all. I don't know them.
No, his vibes suck that bad. Like, Magus doesn't want to be with you now.
Yeah, he doesn't. So anyway, that all sucks. But however, it's not so bad, and I'll tell you why. One, this game's easy as hell. That's a big one. Like, I can miss all the coolest stuff, and I'm still able to win the game. It's fine.
That makes sense from a quality of life perspective. It just also seems wrong to me. Like what I expect out of a JRPG. So does this game have experience in the traditional sense? I don't remember. It doesn't,
no,
right?
It does not. And that actually helps the thing I was worried about before, which is, how am I going to make sure all of my guys are leveled up when there's so many of them? Like, most of them aren't going to be fighting. Like Chrono Trigger, there's no random stuff. You like have to walk into an enemy on the field to start a battle. So like you can avoid them if you don't want to get into fights. And the way that you level up is not by experience points. It's like when you defeat like a boss, whether that's a mandatory boss or a side quest boss. When you beat a boss, everybody levels up, and everybody gets their stat boost, and everybody gets, more slots for magic. And doesn't matter if they were in the party or not. If you do, the people who are like active and like having fights will, after a level up, get like 2 or 3 like extra stat boosts, but they're very small. So it's just like a little consolation prize. Like if this is your favorite guy, and you keep using them, they'll always have a little bit. They'll always be above the curve a tiny bit. However, everyone is leveling up the entire time, which is like good as hell because like one. Chrono Trigger, these games that don't have random encounters, that have just like fucking guys on the screen, grinding sucks because when you clear out a screen, you have to leave and come back, and that's just extra. Grinding should be as fast as possible. So having to leave and come back is an extra step. You never have to fucking grind. It's impossible to grind. No point to it. Just go to the next boss, which is the most fun part anyway. So I love that.
So I think mechanically that's interesting. Hearing this only makes me think I will only see random encounters as like a chore now, because it's like the tediousness of the random encounters. Well, you get GP and XP at the end, so it sort of like greases the skids for the repetitiveness. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm trying to decide if I would prefer just like the classic Dragon Quest XP style shit.
I mean, There's time and place for it. I mean, Chrono Trigger has always been special like that. Like that wasn't, if I recall correctly, they didn't have, at least learning spells in Chrono Trigger wasn't level up based. It was a totally different thing. You got TP, based on, and that would unlock techniques that would be decoupled from levels. And that was like the main thing you would grind for, especially because if you if you had a bunch of fights with two people, they would like fucking learn the double text where they like did shit together. And so like that's why you grind. You have to like I have to make Chrono and Ayla learn the thing where Ayla throws Chrono in a line.
Him. Yeah. That is the best fucking move in the game because notably, Lavos is just three guys standing shoulder to shoulder. Perfect to get whipped like a football across the screen.
Yes.
It's also just like the fucking funniest. It's just like this huge buff woman is going to throw me now and it's going to do insane damage. Bye.
Yeah, like a lot of them are like, I will use my water magic to float this character up in a bubble, and then I will float the bubble above, and then I'll pop the bubble, and then they will do a downward strike. And it's like, no, Ayla just throws you with arm. Anyway, another good thing about fucking Chrono Cross is I really like the battle system. It's badass. Everyone has like 7 stamina points, and when you go to attack, you have 3 types of attack. You know, you get your light, medium, heavy, and obviously the light attacks are going to be more likely to hit than the heavy attacks. And also, a light attack does 1 of your 7 stamina, points gone. A medium attack is 2 stamina. Heavy attack is 3 stamina. So, and also, the more you hit a certain enemy, the higher the percentage to hit for everything becomes. So you go to hit an enemy, and your heavy attack is like a 70% chance to hit. But you hit him with 2 light attacks, well, now it's got a 90% chance to hit. So
the game is running up the hits and then using the stuff that's more likely to miss at the very end.
Yes, but by the time you get to the very end, the likeliness to hit is now so high that it is actually more likely to hit than not. But like, it means you can't start off with the heavy attacks because that's really likely to miss. And also, I said you have 7 stamina doodads. You don't have to use them all at once. So if I'm like my guy and I want to hit the monster twice and then switch to another guy and cast a spell, and then switch to another guy and hit them a few times, and then by the time I switch back to the initial guy, all that stamina is like he has his all 7 back again, because every time someone else was taking an action, they were resting. So like you can sort of like just be like a normal JRPG where it's someone's turn and they use up all their stamina, and then the next person's turn you use up all their moves. Or you can like think more through it and swap between people, make it so that no one, rather it's very rare that everyone has no stamina and has to like sit and rest and let the enemies wail on them. And then also, this is how you do the fucking spells, which is badass. You get this fucking grid and you put the spells in the grid. You slot the spells in. The spells are like a resource show. They're like a resource show. Everyone can share them. When you put a person in your party, you fill out their grids with the spells that they want to do. And the higher in the grid they are, the more to the right that is, the higher level. So like a level 1 spell's on the very left, and then level 2, and they get stronger the further they go. And the way
are you like literally limited by spell supply, as in like you have, I don't know, 4 fires or whatever?
Yeah, but they're so fucking generous. You'll never. And also, there's a button to just like take all the shit off of people who aren't in your party, which you should do all the time, because they're just like wasting resources because they're not in your party. But yeah, it's never going to become an issue. But like Joe, the way that you are able to cast the higher level spells is every time you hit an enemy, your spell level goes up. So if you hit an enemy once with a level 1 light attack, you're at level 1 spell. And if you hit him with the level 2 attack, you're at level 3 because you just added 2. And then if you hit him with the heavy level 3, then you're at 6. And now you can cast level 6 spells. But sometimes, Joe, when you get to the end of the game, you get level 8 spells. And you can't get to level 8, even if you spend your entire turn wailing on the bad guy, because you only have 7 stamina. So you have to like do a little bit, wait, do a little bit more, and then cast the spell. But then the other thing about spells is spells take all 7 of your stamina, But what if you don't have 7 in your bar? You go into stamina debt, where you're just like in the red. If I have 1 stamina, I cast a spell. Now I have -6, so I have to fucking sit there like an asshole for a long ass time, getting my ass wailed on before I'm able to do anything again. But sometimes it's so good that you do it anyway.
That's
So
a little bit of Bravely Default, because you could like store turns and then blow through them all, and then a guy could like literally just be like, "Oh no, I guess I'll wait when I catch up in 4 turns."
Exactly, it whips ass. It's like, it's not that complex, but it like keeps the battles like a little bit interesting, and there is some thinking to them beyond just like I will choose the best spell every time. Oh, and also the other thing is that you can only use your spells once per battle. So that's part of what makes a character good, is if they have a big grid. That's another reason Pierre sucks. Pierre has a very, very fucking small grid. Like, he only can cast a couple of spells.
The hated Pierre. Out. Ooh, I hate him.
We hate that fucker. And also, there are, special character-specific techniques that are like the strongest spells, that are like what makes the character unique and have personality. You get one at level 3 and level 5 on your grid, and then everyone has a level 7 tech, and most of them you have to do some sort of little side quests to get, which are pretty fun. And most of them I figured out on my own. It's not as impossible to figure out as you would think. A few of them I did have to look up. But it's pretty fucking fun, and I like it a lot. Another thing is that the fucking spells all have, the elements, red and fire, red, water, blue, yeah. And there's yeah. And there's 6 elements. 6 elements, and each one of them has an opposite. Red is opposite of blue, yellow is opposite of green, black's opposite of white. And every enemy and every fucking guy you have has an innate element. And the innate element makes it so that they're stronger when they cast spells of that element, and also they take more damage from the opposite spell. And you fucking see what your bad guy's color is all the time. You don't have to like cast scan. It just says like, this is a blue guy. Cast red on him. Yeah, he'll take damage if you cast red on him. And also, like, the game remembers what the last few spells cast were, like, color-wise. It affects the field. So if, like, the last 3 spells cast were red, then you have a red field, which makes, like, now red spells do, like, 50% more damage because of the red field.
Are there spells or, like, things you can only do with field conditions that are, like, it's got to be entirely one color?
Yes, those are the summons, which are, you summon a super fucking guy to do a crazy amount of damage.
This is, okay, I'm going to ask you a very important summon follow-up question, which is, are they worth the amount of time you spend watching it show up?
Yeah. I think so.
Cool.
They're not that long.
Okay.
It's pretty badass. I mean, and also it's not like Final Fantasy summon where you are going to be doing it constantly. Like it is difficult to set up the field for the summon. So it's like, it's tough, and you're not going to be using it against a normal enemy because it's, going to take, by the time the field's all red, they're dead. It's badass, and I like it. And here's the thing that is really great. This is why you have so many fucking party members, because it means that, like, I have, like, 3 red guys, 3 blue guys, 3 yellow guys. You just have a lot of fucking guys. It's basically Pokemon. Like, I have a ton of them. And you can swap them out at pretty much any save point. So if you're halfway through a dungeon, you'll be like, all these fuckers is yellow. You can go to the save point and get some green guys out of the PC. And now you're doing that shit. And this is
green is nature or lightning?
I have no idea. It's really hard to say. That's like black and white is light and darkness. Red and blue are water and
then the other ones you got rocks or wind.
Yeah, I don't know. Yellow is rocks and lightning. Green is healing and leaf. But leaves come out of the ground, which is rocks. I don't know. It's unclear. Why would? Oh, but also green is wind because tornado is a green spell. Wouldn't that be lightning?
Is Pierre?
Pierre's blue. Pierre sucks shit.
What does he hit with? I want to know. Like, what is his weapon?
Like a fencing foil, like a rapier. He's French. He's got a big foppish hat. We hate Pierre. What was I fucking talking about? Oh, Chill.
You were talking about summons with the field color.
No, I'm talking about when you fight a boss, because like you can change what fucking spells you have in your grid at any time when you're not fighting, that is. You don't need a save point for that. Save points, you just need to swap people out of your party, but you can swap what spells you have equipped at any time. It is very likely that you will encounter a boss battle and you will see, oh, fuck, this guy's blue. I don't have any red spells. Oh, shit, what am I supposed to do? Now, in a normal game, you would cry and die. But I noticed, when this happened to me very early on in Chrono Cross, that the runaway option was not grayed out. And I'm like, maybe I'll run away? And I tried it, and it succeeded. And there was a little cutscene where my two guys were like, we'll hold him off, but we can't hold him off for long. And it opened up my fucking start menu. I changed what spells I had equipped. And as soon as I closed the start menu, my two guys were like, we can't hold him off anymore. We have to fight now. And the fight started again. And I'm like, oh my God. This goes for all bosses.
So I had access to this when I played. I think because I have been conditioned since an infant that boss fights equal can't run away. Like, it's like just completely etched into my soul.
Yes.
That when you told me this, I was like, that's not, you can't just like make shit up. Like, you're just making up things. But no, that's deranged. And it's amazing that, well, it's not amazing. I was stupid. It's just impressive how stupid I was as a kid to not pick up on, like, you're supposed to be swapping these guys out. Like, you should not be as attached to each one as you currently are. Because that's what I was kind of doing. Because it's like, I like Frog. I like the robot.
Yeah. I mean, part of the downside of this having a bajillion guys is that like none of them hit as hard because none of them have as many scenes as, you know, Frog and Robot and Luca and Marl do, because like, you know, the amount of fucking text the game has for, you know, party members having personality has to be spread out over so many of them. So just the number of lines per guy is so much less. And that's really unfortunate because none of them are as cool as our Chrono Trigger guys. And another thing that sucks is that, like, there are dual and triple techs, but they're so fucking stingy with them. If I had not looked up, like, who are the two guys who have a double tech, I would never have figured it out. Because I'm like, I would never have put those two guys. Like, they don't look like they'd be buddies. Like, they don't have any connection. Why are they the ones who have a double tech? It's really annoying because that's like the coolest thing about Chrono Trigger. Oh, I also didn't fucking tell you. When you fight an optional boss, like a side quest boss, and you run away, like a plot relevant boss, they do that shit where it's like, we can't hold him off for long, Surge. Yeah. When you fight a fucking side quest boss and run away, it just stands there and you can leave. You can be like, oh, I'm not ready. Let me go back to the save point and change my guys. And it'll be like, cool, I'm optional anyway, so see ya. So good.
Some of the optional bosses. So I had the fucking strategy guide for this game. So what I loved doing as a kid in the PlayStation era is I would get strategy guides for games, and like I just like reading them, like regardless of what I needed in the game. And even though I didn't like Chrono Cross, I read the shit out of the strategy guide. So even though I did not get to these optional bosses, I know that Ozzy, Flea, and Slash from Chrono Trigger fame are like optional bosses you can fight, and they look cool.
Yeah, right? They're still in their Toriyama style. So here's the thing about that show. You can only get to these optional super bosses in New Game Plus. Because, apparently that is a big thing about Chrono Cross, is that you're supposed to play New Game Plus a couple of times. Because it gets harder. It starts off easier because you have all your, you know, level ups, but then the enemies, you know, exponentially get harder until it's, you know, difficult again. And also, it's the only way to get all the characters, because you remember all those clusters of guys where when you pick one, you can't get the others. Well, if you restart the game on New Game Plus, you can fucking pick one of the other ones, and then later on, when you get the Chrono Cross, apparently using it in a New Game Plus brings the timeline of the original game into sync with yours, and you get all the guys you had before. So that's how you can get all the guys. And you can only New Game Plus can you fight the Chrono Trigger mini bosses who were so funny and likable from before. Well, I'm not going to play New Game Plus because this game takes like 40 hours, so I'm not doing that.
Also, Chrono Trigger relied heavily on New Game Plus in general. Like that was another game that was all about doing it again. In fact, the way you got the better endings was just like you beat Lavos sooner and sooner in the game, right?
I don't know. I never did New Game Plus. I've never done New Game Plus for fucking anything except Sekiro, because the funny thing about New Game Plus and Sekiro is that your first game takes you like 30 hours because you're dying constantly. And New Game Plus, you beat it in 4 hours and you're like, oh my God, who am I? And like, that's what's fun about Sekiro New Game Plus. I don't New Game Plus any fucking game. Why would I? I have other games to play. Jesus, my time is limited here on this dang earth.
One of the endings was locked behind you had to beat Lavos solo with Chrono, like right after your first of the fair.
Impossible.
Which is so fucking funny to imagine, like, Chrono, wake up. What, Mom? Go to the fair. Okay. Eat this guy's lunch. What's a teleporter? Oh, I gotta kill this thing. And then you fucking do.
So good. Another fucking thing about Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is a time travel game. Time travel gets stories real complicated. However, overall, Chrono Trigger's story, pretty straightforward. Would you agree?
If I may, I think the fact that there's such distinct times with gaps in between makes it like less obnoxious and confusing. It's like dinosaur time. Mm-hmm. The future.
Exactly. And like there are some time travel silliness that you can do, like in Middle Ages, it's like we need someone to plant this forest, but it'll take 100 years for someone to till the forest enough. And it's like, we'll leave the robot here and then travel to modern day. And he's like, I did it.
He's like, I'm so tired.
And there's also like the time travel shit of like, if you get a key to a chest, you can go to the future, open the chest, go to present, open the chest, go to the Middle Ages, open the chest, and then like go to antiquity and open the chest. But if you open it first in antiquity, you can't open it any other time because it's already been opened. Like that's pretty fun. But like that's not plot shit. That's just like, isn't that clever? Isn't that fun? And like, same thing with the Black Omen, the like optional floating dungeon that's floating. Like you can beat it like 10 times because you just beat it in the farthest future and then beat it in all the past eras. Isn't that fun?
That's where the mutants live.
Yeah. Chrono Cross is the most complicated fucking... As soon as I beat it, Joe, I instantly looked up a Chrono Cross ending explained video that was 20 minutes long. And I watched that shit, and I still don't really understand what was going on. It's so fucking confusing because not only is there time shenanigans going on that change the timeline of Chrono Trigger, which is to say that, like, in the timeline that was created by Chrono winning in Chrono Trigger, and so there isn't the apocalypse, that allowed the future to be good. And so in the future, everyone who was thriving made a time laboratory that was trying to figure out how to do time science. And then in the past, Lavos was able to sense that this time laboratory existed, and he hated that. So he pulled the time laboratory into the past. He did a cell. He did a cell so that there's another parallel timeline where all the events of Chrono Trigger happen while there is this time laboratory off in the distance. And part of what the time laboratory does is terraform an entirely new archipelago and seed it with new people for some fucking reason that I don't remember. And then so you're already in an alternate timeline. And then also there's something from like the timelines that get erased, they don't like that. So they're trying to like fight back. So like the timeline that originally was going to happen where Lavos came and destroyed everybody, that is like it's sad that it's gone because those people who were like in the dome and starving,
they were like, we're supposed to die. Yeah, it's gotta kill us.
Like they never got to be born because they got born by happy people who were thriving, and they hate that. And then also like your guy.
So what you're saying is like each potential vector, then like regardless of what happens as far as events goes, the vector of time itself gets upset and sad.
Yeah, like part of what's the problem is like there's too many timelines, and the biggest reason there's too many timelines is your main guy Surge. He is like somehow connected with the time thing because he was a baby. They're like the time lab got fucked up and it like accidentally labeled like his DNA as like he's the fucking admin. So we can only open the main chamber with his DNA.
The password is a baby, and it's him.
But later he died, but he only died in one timeline. So instead of time traveling like in Chrono Trigger, you're swapping between home world and another world, and the difference in another world is that you died, but in home world you lived. And like they're each subtly different, and like it's very funny because most characters have two versions of them, so it's very funny to recruit one, go to the other world, put them in your party, and have them be the lead character and go talk to themselves, and they're like, "What the fuck? Welcome to his two of me." And one of your other party members is like, "Just don't worry about it." And so the main problem, the main villain, is that apparently when Lavos was destroyed, he got sent to outside of time, but also apparently Shala, the Princess of Zeal from Chrono Trigger, got sent there at some point that I don't remember that happening. And they merged into a timeline-devouring monster that is making there be too many timelines, and you got to use the Chrono Cross on him, which I don't really know what that is. I got it, and I used it on him, and it made me win the game, but I couldn't tell you what it did.
Can I say my issue with a lot of what you've described? And I hope I don't get canceled for this, but my issue fundamentally is that Surge has no Riz.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you were going to get canceled. This is that there shouldn't be any bi people in the game. Yeah. Surge has no Riz. He's a silent protagonist, much like Chrono. The difference between the two of them is that Chrono is a little Goku. So he's got the Riz built in. He doesn't need to talk. He doesn't need a personality. Surge is just some fucking guy with shorts.
Okay. Surge is ultimately a 3D polygon fellow. There's something about a silent protagonist that maps onto a fully 3D guy differently than a red-haired Goku. It just does. It just does. And I think it's just because the simplicity of the top-down JRPGs is you're just used to, like, yeah, they don't talk. You don't need it. But the minute you have something like Chrono Cross, which also has a lot of really nice hand-drawn backgrounds, right? Like, they're not hand-drawn, but pre-rendered. Sorry.
Yes. They're gorgeous. Also, the soundtrack, it's Mitsuda again. He knocks it out of the park, just as he did with Chrono Trigger. That's one place where, like, both games are absolutely at the same level of excellence. Is soundtrack.
I don't have much affection for a Surge, but God, I really do love this era of games where RPGs did it more than others, but I mean everybody did it, which is the pre-rendered backgrounds. They just look so cool.
It's like, yeah, it's badass. It makes the game look much better than the system is capable of, because like the system isn't the one making the fucking background. It's just like we painted that. This is just a JPG now. Nothing is being rendered, and like because of that, they can make it look so goddamn cool. And I mean, this is the same thing with Xenogears, except reverse, where the environments are 3D, but your guys are like super fucking detailed sprite art, and I love that shit. It's so good. The point being, Chrono Cross. These games, it's so confusing, dude.
So am I right or wrong as a kid? I'm not getting closure currently.
You are right that this ain't Chrono Trigger, and that is it never doesn't suffer from that. Like I understand the artistic courage it takes to take a sequel in a really different way, in a really different direction. And there are times when that pays off. However, when you see the Chrono Trigger characters, when you have a flashback scene where you go to Luca's house and it looks exactly the same, I'm just like, oh, well, why didn't it all look like this? This is better. However, like, if I was a video game reviewer in that time, I would have given Chrono Trigger a 10. I would have given Chrono Cross a 9. It's a great RPG. I think you should play it.
You said there was a lot of guys. Let's just be concise about this. Who are the dumb guys? Who are the dumbest people? We got Pierre. I know there's a big mushroom man.
There's a big mushroom man. He sucks ass.
There's a voodoo doll, right, that hits people with its nail.
I think so. I never got him. I saw the guy who was worshiping him, and I'm like, this voodoo doll definitely comes to life. But I didn't figure out how to do that. There's a shitty dog who can talk. We hate him. There's Van Gogh, but he's like a little kid, and he sucks. And his special technique is that he can randomly paint the field into different colors. Except, why would I want it to be done randomly? I want it to be done the color I want, so I never used him.
In theory, you have the guys on the field that will make it the color you want, right?
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah.
There is a little alien who wears a teeny spacesuit and is like from space. I
like
love
the
him.
Flintstones guy?
Yeah, pretty much. His name is Starkey. Look up Starkey Chrono Cross. You're gonna have a good time. The Mushroom Man sucks at, because like you get like these key items that like go into a special menu that like you can't use per se, but like if you present them to someone, something will happen. And like at one point I got like a gourmet mushroom, and I'm like, do I give this to any of the chef characters in the game? And I tried, and they're all like, I don't care about this. And I found this fucking cave in an optional area where a guy was just sitting, and he's like, is that a mushroom? Gimme, gimme, gimme. And he ate it up without me like having to say yes or no. And then he turned into a mushroom man. He's like, oh shit, this blows my ass. I'm gonna stick with you guys until I find a way to cure this. And he joins your party, and I'm just like, go away. He's not good. That's the other thing. Like, there's 40 party members, but like 30 of them have stats that when you just glance at them are like, this character's so bad I'll never use them. And
I'm going to sound like a min-maxer, and I'm not. I really do not play games like in the optimal way, but I am reminded a little bit of like every Pokemon game. It's like, oh, these are some interesting new guys. Oh, their stats are shit though. Like, why would I? Why would I bring you on?
There is the 3 dragoons. So like there used to be 4 dragoons for this kingdom where you start off. You know, they're the best people in the army. The 4th guy died, and his page was Glenn. So there's only 3. Eventually, they stop becoming villains. They're villains at the beginning, like mini bosses. Eventually, they are on your side, and you are required to. They're unmissable. You will recruit these 3 guys every time, and well, they're fucking strong, Joe. They're really strong. Like, use them all the time. It's good to use them. Like, as soon as I saw them, I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is my fucking crew for the rest of the game.
Because they're elite guys already.
Yeah.
Like, that's their shtick. Are they a reoccurring boss fight? I remember some guy's name like Salt and Pepper.
Oh, I love Salt and Pepper. Yeah, they're like the tutorial bosses. Whenever there's a new mechanic, they fight you and are going to do it on you, but they like equipped their spells wrong, so they explain what they want to do, but then Salt or Pepper is like, uh-oh, I didn't equip any black spells. Oopsie. It's like, but then now are we gonna take advantage of the damage boost of the all black field? You dope. Ooh. So they're fun. One of them's tall, one of them's short. It's classic.
The names are good. Just changing one letter.
Yeah.
Smart.
Cog Talk. Cog Talk. It's Cog Talk. Joe, you got fucking bushwhacked by Cog Hell on account of
it's hard to get Adderall
medicine.
now. Everyone that takes any sort of stimulant for ADHD is very aware of this at this point. Nonetheless, I have been pretty lucky. That luck has ran out, and and that sucks. And I don't even have a large dosage. I have 10 XR, which is like the smallest it can be, I believe. And not that it matters how much you take. I'm just saying. And yeah, man, the fucking physical withdrawal hit me, and I was like, oh yeah, there is that part too. There's not just like, oh, I have less focus. It's like my brain has gotten used to meth, and now the meth has been turned off. So that sucks. And I don't know, every time I do this dance or deal with anything downstream from just Adderall side effects, I just keep coming back to the fact that like I'm doing this for work. Like like, all of this extended misery is to be better at spreadsheets. You know what I mean? And that aspect of it kind of, like, that takes the wind out of me more than an acute scenario where I'm, like, feeling under the weather from a sudden stop. Like, it's just sort of like, oh, no, this is baked into it. Like, you got to do it.
Like, it's one thing to deal with the hellish U.S. medical system and have to be taking this thing that they apparently assume manufacture of is optional. As far as I can tell, the DEA was like, do it, but half this time, everybody, and that's what we're dealing with. It's one thing to go through all that shit and be taking a drug that you have to constantly be worried maybe it'll go away and has fucking side effects and withdrawal effects and shit. And that's a hell of a thing. But it's one thing if it's like, if I don't do that, I'm going to be in a lot of pain or die. It's another thing to be like, if I don't do that, I can't do the thing I hate.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And that's it just sucks because no one knows when they're going to get more. Like, there are, like, in theory, more shipments, but, like, my pharmacist was not like, oh yeah, we'll for sure be good to go by whatever. It's just kind of like, question mark, whatever, good luck.
I think the funny thing here is that if you at your job behaved in such a way, that would be such an unacceptable thing, and they'd be like, you need to get on Adderall so you can focus up. This is not good to go. And it's like, well, I would like to get on Adderall, but the people who make Adderall are just like, I've been feeling down lately. I don't think I'm going to fire up the factory.
I'm just not into it this year.
And they're like, oh my God, take all the time you need. This is, honestly, no one's asking for this. There's no deadline here. This is just for you.
And that's also why I can't stand because like there'll be news articles about why there's a shortage, or people are feeling the squeeze because they can't get their meds. There's always like comments that are like you're like relying on something you don't need, a very naturalist sort of like response, to which I would argue, again, I am doing this for work. It's not fun. Like
it's like, it's not natural for you to have this to function. It's like, oh, Joe doesn't need this to function. Joe needs this to work, which is different from function. Like,
correct.
Work is a bad thing. Work is like Lavos. Like, work hit the Earth 65 million years ago and has infected it since.
Yes.
Oh, that's another thing about Chrono Cross, is that apparently the dino people were supposed to be the dominant species and completely eradicate humans, but because Lavos hit their city and killed them all, and because the influence of Lavos made humans' brains grow at an exponential rate that they were not supposed to have happen.
Because we were supposed to be dumb apes forever.
Yes. So like, I was talking about, like, all the timelines are upset that they don't get to be the main one. Like, the most upset one is the fucking dinosaur people timeline. And like, I'm like, shit, fucking dinosaur people. Like, in Chrono Trigger, you just went and saw the dinosaur people, and you're like, it's funny because in the past there's dinosaurs, and like, you never think about the timeline.
They also talk and have human speech that's better than Ayla's tribe, but that's fine.
I would say that the modern humans have dino speech, Joe, because they invented it.
For the record, the Dino timeline is the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, it's the same thing.
It's exactly that.
It's the same exact fucking thing.
Oh my god. Like, the final dungeon is like the timeline gets so fucked that the Dino City appears in the world and you have to go to Dino Town. But there are no dinos, it's just like ghosts and shit. No, actually what it is, I think it's like cyber robots, because like the dinosaurs are smart and they can build robots. God damn it. This game's so confusing. I didn't run out of Adderall, but I had a Cog experience, which is... So I work from home, which is to say 100% of everything I do is the computer. And you're never going to believe this. Computer broke. And by which I don't mean it, started behaving badly or crashing. I mean, I needed to restart the computer. And when the time to restart happened, it was just like, this shit's not turning on, brother. It's just not happening ever again. And wowee. I thought I knew what fear was. But that really, and also I thought that my job was like, oh, it's easy. I'm blowing it off most of the time. That really felt like I had my arms and legs cut off. I'm just like, I can't even tell anybody that my computer's, because I don't have Slack or work email on my phone because of moral reasons. So I'm just like, oh no. And I'm like, how do I can't send an email with my work email because I don't remember the fucking passwords. I don't remember any of the passwords. The passwords are all saved on the work computer and I can't get them. Luckily I was able to remember my that you can get on using the Authenticator app on your phone that gives you the 6-digit code that changes every minute. And so I was able to put Microsoft Office on my personal laptop, which really did feel like very violating. But what can you do?
It is a path of no return. It's such a step.
I did uninstall, but every once in a while when I open up the start menu, it'll have like tharrison@nameofmycompany.com show up somewhere. I'm like, how do you know that? I told you to forget about that. Fucking Christ. Cog working blows. I hate it. I hate having to do it. I hate that you have to suffer to do it. I would like it if the drug you had to take to do your work
was fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Like it was a cyber drug.
Yeah.
I wish it was just like how it was in Fallout, which is like you're trying to hack a computer terminal and it's like you can't do this and you're like, fuck, okay, give me a minute. And then you go and you huff something and you're like, my brain is way better.
Yeah, I know about R now. Jesus Christ. Holy moly. You know what really blows? So we're using Taskade for our fucking episodes to write down what we want to talk about. And Taskade is for work primarily, but we're gaming the system by making it be for silly. But they have really gone all in on AI as their big as their big selling point. Like if you log on to Taskade, it's like you can make a checklist with AI, lead with AI in your workplace. AI.
We have 1,000 AI credits remaining. I'm seeing this.
Just decided to try it out because when you make a new Taskade page, it's like, you want to do it with AI? And so I'm like, what would it fucking say? And it's like, I want to make a podcast episode. And it made a checklist that was like, first, get a mic. Then, decide what to talk about. Then, check your equipment to make sure it's working. Then, decide when the time to record is. Then, record the episode. Then, edit the episode. Then, add sound effects. Then, add music. Then, release the episode on a podcast platform. And I'm like,
we're in agreement. We're in agreement that if that is useful and new information to you, whatever you're going to make is going to suck. Like, it doesn't matter.
And anything Joe, you say that, yes, it will suck, but anyone who needs that and is getting it from Taskade without irony is a business vampire. which means that any podcast they produce is going to get 3 million downloads, and then Jocko is going to come on and tell you about how
you got to kill a guest every year.
You got to kill someone every year. You got to invite 3 millennials to your home every year, and you got to hand each of them a sharpened stick, and you say, one of you will be my protege. Which one? That's for you to decide. Then you lock the door and leave. That's
the go ceremony. Gu ceremony from Kengan Ashura, but instead of pool cues, it was just a big tomb.
Yeah. And instead of coming out of it as like the great fighter who was going to be the Fang of the Kengan Association, it's to be on Jocko's podcast. I can't believe how many fucking podcasts Jocko was on. Go listen to that episode. I believe it's called the Sickos Listen to Homework Podcast or Business Freaks. Juice our numbers. You know what you should also do is listen to Sicko Shock 2. That shit's so
You should absolutely listen to Sicko Shock 2. Listen, for me, Joe, the guy on this podcast, you got to listen to Sicko Shock 2. So I don't have to engage Tom on that vector anymore. Tom can focus on other things. He can think about how it was fun to play F-Zero GX a bunch.
It was. That game's... You go so fast. Vroom. I don't like how in Forza, if you go fast vroom, it means you can't control your car. That's bullshit. I don't think there should ever be a racing game where going as fast as possible is ever a bad thing.
This is tangentially a Cog Talk, but there is is it Forza? No, it's a Gran Turismo movie about gamers becoming the real deal. That was it. Yes. So that's a type of Cog thing. So you can put in the work. This is what it's telling you. You can put in the work. You can get to Diamond League, and eventually there'll be a knock at your door asking you to go to Monaco, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all for Anime Sickos this time. We'll be back with more episodes that are not fucking high concept. No more art. We will never make art again. We have been slapped down by the hand of society. Sicko Industries has made it very clear that if you post art, it will be punished. I've been Tom, an Anime Sicko.
I'm Joe, an Anime Sicko.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.